guys to the late night show. I'm your host, John Jimmies. This is my co-host, Bob.
Hey folks.
All right, so tonight we got an interesting show for you guys. We're covering the Adelphia scandal. All right, for those of you who don't know, Adelphia is the fifth largest cable provider in the United States, and it's a family company started by the Reedus family. And as of late, we've come to learn that they have actually been funneling money. So we're gonna find a little bit out about that. Bob, you excited about this one?
Sounds riveting, Jimmy.
All right. Tonight we have interviews with John Regas, founder of Adelphia, Gregory Dearlove of Deloitte, who is the auditor of Adelphia, and Mark Schoenfield, the director of the SEC's New York Regional Office. We also have musical guest Ja Rule. Let's get this party started. All right, everybody, please join me in welcoming John Regas.
Hey there, Bob.
Hey, how's it going, John?
Doing well.
Glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
All right. Here we go. All right, John, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and the company.
Well, John, I come from humble beginnings. Both of my parents were Greek immigrants, came over and had a rough start here in the States, but worked hard to put me and my three siblings through college. And thanks to them, we were all able to get educated. And since that education, I've built the company Adelphia from the ground up, brick by brick. And family has stayed important to me. It's been a family-run business since day one, and it will remain a family-run business through the end.
John, do you know what I love?
What's
I love that you're, so family-oriented. That's great from a business.
I agree. I think it's the most important thing. You got to keep your values prime. You got to keep your morals straight. You can't waver in times of despair.
Yep. You've got your morals and your family. That's all you
right.
need.
That's right.
All right, John, so we have, in the news recently, we've heard a lot about, some whispers that maybe the family has been funneling money out of the company. Would you like to comment on that?
I would like to comment on that, John. I do not believe that I have done any unethical behavior. I do not believe that my company has done anything unethical. I believe that we have made some decisions that benefit our family as well as the company, as it is a family-run company.
John, I'm really glad to hear that you're doing what's in the best interest of the family and the company. So one thing I wanted to ask, could you explain a little bit more about this golf course that was purchased with company funds?
Absolutely, John. Absolutely. We purchased this golf course in an attempt to benefit the community. We planned that this golf course would bring in young talent. It would bring in jobs as well. And I said that from day one, that I would be building this golf course in the interest of the community to benefit the economy of Pennsylvania. And unfortunately, we were not able to execute on this plan, but it was in the works.
Okay, well, that's definitely a valid point. Maybe explain a little bit about the safari that you went on.
Oh, that was awesome, by the way.
Phenomenal. Well, this safari again was a somewhat of a gift to my family from the family-owned company. The way we see it, if we work hard, if we create results,
Play hard.
we can play hard too with what we have earned.
So speaking of playing hard, I heard that you're now the owner of the Buffalo Sabres.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
Can you
indeed.
explain that from a business standpoint as to how that's a good use of company funds?
See, this is related to my last point about when we work hard to create earnings, we should be able to spend these earnings in whichever way we seem necessary. And we've always had a family interest in hockey.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and apologize to the audience, but I'm going to have to talk about some pretty technical accounting stuff now. John, would you go ahead and explain to the audience and to the American public why this $2.3 billion in unrecorded liabilities was left out?
Yes, I would. Well, you see, we cooperated with Deloitte fully and completely with regard to this $2.3 billion. And it is all disclosed in our SEC filings. And anybody is free to go access these filings and calculate that number.
All right, John, it's been a pleasure having you. We'll let you get back to prison.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me on.
Now, we're going to have Ja Rule introduce our next guest, Greg Dearlove.
Hey, how's it going?
Come in.
It's good to be here. Good to be here.
Hey, Greg. So, how would you rate Deloitte's performance on this audit in retrospect?
Well, to tell you the truth, I feel like we had our best people on the audit, on the engagement, and I wasn't really worried about anything.
Okay. Well, I just have to kind of continue with this. How did you guys let such a large fraud actually take place?
Well, sure, there were some instances where, for example, when we tried to get them to expand on their note about co-borrowing debt, which ended up being a large source of their fraud, we definitely just gave in when they said they pushed it back against us and didn't want to expand it. But that doesn't make us bad people. I mean, Deloitte's one of the big four. How could we do anything wrong?
So it's pretty much, you got a little client pushback, and because Adelphia was such a huge client for you guys, you just kind of gave in.
You could say that.
All right, so how has this fraud impacted Deloitte?
Well, rather negatively, to be honest, because we had to settle with SEC for $50 million. And, but if you ask me, I feel like if we had taken it through the course of its litigation, we would have come out successful.
All right, Greg, I appreciate you coming in and talking to us.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Now, Ja, can you please help me welcome our next guest? The SEC's Mark Schoenfield.
How's it going?
Hey, glad to have you. All righty.
Well,
So-
before we start, is it Casual Friday at the SEC?
Yeah, we're a very boots on the ground kind of organization. People think we're pretty boring, but we like to have fun.
It's nice. So how long did it take you to grow that facial hair?
It's a work in progress.
It's a nice look. I've never seen such a square mustache on a person.
I like it.
All right, Mark, I appreciate you coming in and talking to us. So we've had a couple people in tonight to kind of explain the Adelphia situation, maybe a little bit more biased sources, but from the SEC's perspective, can you explain to those at home exactly what happened with Adelphia?
I'm still confused.
It's understandable. Yeah, so we had three major issues happening with Adelphia. The first one was off-balance sheet financing. So we had about $2.3 billion of debt that we found that wasn't recorded on the face of the financial statements, which was quite an issue, The company appeared to be a lot more liquid than they were.
Okay, so I don't mean to interrupt you, but could you explain a little bit more as to what these unrecorded liabilities were and how they were carried out?
Yeah, so this debt that was supposed to be on the face of their financial statements was actually just not there, and it was run through their subsidiaries. So they had multiple subsidiary companies that had gone out and gotten lines of credit, and they could use the same line of credit to pull this debt, and then it was being rolled up under Adelphia through unconsolidated shell companies.
Okay, I think that clears everything up for those at home. Please continue with your second and third point.
Yeah, of course. So our second main issue was that they overstated earnings. So all these earnings calls that we're all worried about and we all listen into to see if people are meeting the earnings adjustments, what are they called?
Expectations.
Earnings expectations. Yeah. So they weren't meeting them, and so they were just kind of fudging with the numbers to make it look like they were meeting them. So that was definitely a problem because those were fake revenues coming in, fake earnings.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got them for that too. And then the last point was they tended to spend a lot of company money for their own personal fun. Their saying was work hard, play hard. We don't agree.
Okay, so how exactly did the SEC first catch wind of this and first become interested in the Adelphia case?
Yeah, so it goes back to those earning expectations. So on one of their earnings call, we actually had a analyst at Merrill Lynch that was listening in, and he noted that this off-balance sheet financing just wasn't listed in. He asked a question, and the Adelphia management really just didn't have a response, and that kind of just put the marker on them right away, especially after WorldCom, Enron, Tyco. We just saw a pattern. We went after them.
All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. Adelphia, fraud, scandal, bad stuff. All right. Thank you, Mark, for coming in, and special thanks to John and Greg for also stopping by and explaining to everybody, both here in the studio and at home, a little bit more about the Adelphia case. And on that note, Ja Rule, carry us away. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Bad boys, what you want, what you want, what you gonna do when Sherry John Brown come for you? Tell me what you wanna do, what you gonna do? Yeah, bad boys, what you gonna do?